All right, welcome guys. Welcome. Hope everyone had a great Christmas. We're back in the startup circle community again for our daily weekday mastermind and MBA masterclass. So welcome. Hope everyone had a great holiday. I know I did. Played a lot of Paw Patrol. We took the rocket down to the school and shot that off, and then we played dollies. Santa came to our house and did it up nice for my daughter, so she was really happy. So yeah, just making those memories and yeah, just truly what a blessing. So hope you guys had a blessed Christmas as well. And yeah, we're gonna get back to, business here, our favorite topic. So let's say hello and good morning to a few people here. Kevin, Andy, Yvonne, so good to see you guys. Thanks for being here. Please like and repost the space, guys. We'll go till 8 or a little bit after, depending on, how crowded it gets. But yeah, welcome, Kevin. How's it going, man?
Hey, good morning, Justin. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Startup Circle, guys. We missed yesterday's space. I hope everybody had a fantastic Christmas and spent some time with the family and loved ones. Remember, we're working 364 days of the year, some of us even more, right? I worked on Christmas a little bit, but I got done what was needed and then spent time with the family and just really, really enjoyed what was necessary. So remember for what we're always, it's always important to remember why we're all working so hard during these times as well, too, right? Learn to enjoy life at the end of the day. I'm doing good, Justin, though. Otherwise, people, for the average person, they tend to slow down during the holidays. But I kind of like to see it as the time to really get ahead of everybody in a competitive way, right? While everybody is slowing down, that's the opportunity for you to get a head start and really take advantage of the whole situation as well, too, right? And you can't let momentum lose. You cannot lose that momentum during the holidays as well, too, right? What's that famous saying? It's okay to miss a day, but don't do it again the next day. That is so true, right? For those people who took the holiday off completely, that's completely fine. But again, just make sure you guys are showing up and got some pretty good wins this week, some good wins this month, actually. Probably one of my most profitable months in a long time. And we're just going to keep on striving as well. I got the newsletter going on as well. I dropped it down in the purple pill if you guys want to go read that. Everything is free. I launch a newsletter every single day, teaching people on how to grow, people how to really elevate their businesses, and even more, finding their voice through the form of writing. So if that's something you're interested in, just go check that out. But that's going to be building across of 2026. And I think that, newsletters have always been on my radar, but I think now than ever, and understanding the value and the protection as well as the insurance that having a newsletter provides, right? I think I'm going to be going very, very heavy on it as well. I think that's it for me, though. Nice to see you, Andy, Giovanni, Justin, King, Ira X Lab, and Lala Stitch. I think I'm seeing you two for the first time, but welcome. And yeah, enjoy the startup circle. You're going to love it. Take the lessons that Justin is going to learn because I know he drops a lot of wisdom here. And just pay attention. And better yet, grab some paper and pen, start writing things down because trust me, it is worth it. All right, over to you, Justin. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin, and yeah, thanks for modeling the way. And yeah, Kevin just dropped a newsletter. I'm actually reading it right now. Why writing on X is an asset, not a shortcut. So yeah, I mean, yeah, 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, I started writing on X, and yeah, my life's changed completely. I've always loved writing. I've always been good at writing, and yeah, like specifically around business writing, I really enjoy that. I love doing it just because I have a lot of experience to share. And, who would have thought someone would actually, like your stuff or comment, right? And so it takes a long time. Just ask Kevin, and ask Andy and Yvonne and Christelle. It takes a while, but once you get in that groove and you don't stop, I mean, you know, a famous quote for me that really resonated with me that I think about every day is I'd rather work 5 years like most people won't, so I can live the rest of my life like most people can't. And that really resonates with me. And so I was even talking to a fellow dad yesterday at the local park by my house. And he had a 3-year-old and my daughter's 4, and they were playing together. And he was talking about his consulting life, right? Traveling a lot, and he was a SaaS, software as a service, SAP developer for supply chain, and he was just like miserable with all the traveling. And I was like, yeah, I totally get it. I've been there. And but he was just sharing his story a bit, and I told him about my journey, and I said, I've been on this journey lately for about 2 years, and I have this 5-year plan. He's like, "Oh wow, I love that." He's like, "That's really awesome." So, yeah, I mean, and he was a consultant, and Kevin's a consultant, Andy's a consultant, Yvonne's a consultant, Christelle's a consultant. There's a trend here, and this is why fractional. We're gonna get into it. This is gonna be heavy, but I mean, I had a breakthrough with my dad like this month because we've never seen eye to eye on employee mindset and entrepreneur. Okay, I'm turning 45 and he's still telling me, he's accepted that he still calls it a job, but I'm like, Dad, no, it's my client. It's my client. I'm working with him 3 days a week. I have to remind him. But for him, it's like, you go to school, you get a job, you get retirement, and that's it. That's how it works, right? And it's like, when are you going to re get a real job? But I asked him a question a couple weeks ago. I said, look, Dad, you worked at the power plant for 30 years, San Onofre. Yvonne knows it, Andy knows it, maybe others know it. It's in, San Clemente here. He worked for there for 30 years. He retired at 55, God bless him. And and I asked him, I said, who made the most money, the employees or the consultants? And it was an easy answer for him. He said the consultants. I said, exactly, that's what I am. I'm a consultant. So just accept it. Just accept that that's my trajectory. That's my path. I've been on this path for over 25 years. I've always been even when you put me inside of an as an employee, I'm still doing consulting, right? In my book, because I just have a consultant's mind. That's how I work. So that was a good breakthrough with my dad because again, it's like, we don't align on a lot of things. He doesn't like to talk business. I totally get it. It's not for everyone. But yeah, I had a breakthrough with him, so now that was good. So it's all about these little breakthroughs you have in relationships with people that, when you're forging your own path, when you're a Ronin, not too many people are gonna, get it, right? It's not gonna click for them, but it'll eventually click. In 5 years, it's gonna click for everyone, okay? Mostly me, because this is my journey. It's not anyone else's. Like you guys, each and every one of us are in control of your own success. No one else is going to do it for you. No one else is going to do it for you. So you have to become obsessed with your own success. So yeah, let's jump over to Andy for his good morning reflection from the Christmas holiday and his wins for the week, and then we'll continue the conversation. So how's it going, Andy? Good to see you. Hope you had a great Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Even though it was yesterday, it's fine. Um, wins, wins for the week and ride the fractional trend. Wow. Okay, so first you said a whole bunch of stuff. Yes, consultants are somewhat of the future and even more going forward. But again, that's still living within the trading hours for dollars frame. Just to be clear, and that's okay. Everybody's got to start somewhere. That's the easiest place to start. I've been a consultant for a long, long time. I was reluctant, a reluctant consultant, a reluctant owner, reluctant founder of a company because I tried to follow the path that everybody else told me. Oh, get a good education. Okay, I got education until I knew enough to do work. And then I went forward. So I don't have all the little credentials. I don't have I have an AA degree. Okay. I don't have a bachelor's degree. I don't have a master's degree. I don't have a doctorate degree. I have a little tiny simple little box, right? And yet it doesn't matter, right? Degrees, in my opinion, don't matter in your ability to do work. They only matter in someone else's ability to put you in the little checkbox so that you can be in the interview, so you can get a job. Be grateful if they don't include you. Okay, second thing, Christmas, wonderful. I love spending time with family. Worst day of my life. I had to spend overseas 1 year for Christmas. And my boss said, hey, nobody can go home because the project is so critical. We have to stay. Everybody has to stay. If you leave, one-way ticket, don't come back. And so I missed Christmas. And the worst day, I had to call my daughter and say, hey, how's it going? Merry Christmas. She goes, okay, Daddy, when are you going to be here? And I said, I can't make it today. And she started crying. And it was the worst day of my life. So every Christmas is special. And here's what I told her yesterday. My failure wasn't in not coming home for Christmas. Sometimes that happens. I understand. My failure was not choosing to come home for Christmas. My choice. And I tried to explain to her in my way, was saying, your family and your life and the women in your life, and now that, because she's just recently married, I said, my wife and the family, I said, that's the waves, and it storms and it craves, whatever. I said, yeah, but the bottom line is, I'm the ocean. I'm the ocean, and you get to be the waves and all the storm on top of it, but I'm the ocean. And so I have to choose. So that was lovely. And I mean that in a good way, not in a sarcastic way. Second win for the week. That was a win, by the way. Second win for the week. I, for the last, let's say, year, I said, I'm not a very good writer. I practiced speaking for all these years. I'm a pretty good speaker, but I'm not a good writer, so I need help. Yeah. Okay, fine. I wrote an article called The Road. I've talked about it a bunch of times. It's the idea that you spend your whole life getting ready to go to a job, and then when you finally get the job, all you do is spend your time on the road, commuting to and from. And so then you look at the other cars and you get envious of, well, I like that one better than this one. Oh, that one can go in the HOV lane. This one, that one has roll-up windows or air conditioning, or it's an automatic, or it drives itself. And I said, the whole point was, you're focusing on the wrong thing. You can just take the off-ramp and build a helicopter. You can get on a train or a bus or have somebody else take you. That's not the only path. We have a tendency to become myopic in our thinking, in our vision. And so I wrote this article and I posted it, and I said it out. It's posted here. It's on my newsletter. You can find it, whatever. Here's the win. My wife said, did you write that or did Aya write it? And I said, no, I wrote it. I used AI to clean it up a little bit, but it only cleaned up maybe like 5%. And she goes, wow, I didn't know you were such a good writer. That was win number 2. Here's win number 3. Win number 3 is the only reason I'm working today is because I have executive coaching clients from my work that the contract said, coach these people. So the only reason I'm working today is because people want to be coached. Okay. So those are my wins for the week. Writing the fractional trend, 100% that's going to happen, but it's not the reason you think. My opinion is the reason fractional trend will come is the same reason that FedEx workers and UPS box workers do not work. They work 39 hours a week, not 40. So they can be temporary employees. You don't have to pay them benefits. They don't have to do that. And it's not because UPS and FedEx and everybody else is bad company. They do it for a very specific reason. They can pay them more money. Because if you go 40 hours a week, now you have to do all of these other compliance things. You have to include all of this other stuff. If they're 39-hour employees, they're not technically full-time, and the company doesn't have to take the money they would give to the employees and put it into these other programs that the employees may or may never use. And so they could be 39-hour weekly employees at a 50% higher rate. than they would if they were 40-hour employees. They would get like 50% less, or they would get a third less. Because, a 50% increase is you take 100 plus 50 means it's 150 instead of, anyway, I don't want to explain math to everybody today. The point is, they would make a third less and have access to benefits in other ways that they may or may not use. So the companies have found they can pay more money to more people and they're happier working 39 hours a week, not full time, than they would if they were full time employees. Fractional is the trend, and it's going to increase, and it's going to happen everywhere. The amount of overhead and compliance from a business perspective in hiring full time employees is staggering, especially in California. So if you hire full-time employees and then you have more than 6, now you double your amount of compliance and reporting. If you get to 10, you have triple the amount of compliance and reporting if you have 10 employees. So if you would just look around, you will see that almost every single small company has 4 or less employees. And more than likely, they're not really employees. They're hourly workers at about 39 an hour, 39 hours a week, so that they don't trigger all of this additional compliance and overhead, especially in California. It's not because the business owners are evil a-holes. It's because they can just better use their money to give it to their employees who are happier getting more money than less and less expenses. So, or less of stuff. Anyway, so yeah, fractional is going to increase. What's actually going to happen, I think, is that you're going to end up with people with 3 or 4 or 5, 10, 15, 20-hour a week jobs. Not, I work at this cleaners for 39 hours a week and I'm off on this day and this day, or I'm off, 3 days over here, I'm going to work 2 days over there, and I'm going to work 1 day over here, and then next week it's kind of shift around a little bit. But I think that is much more the future than full-time employees locked in, locked down, feel like they're married to a job because 80% or 70%, between 70 and 80% of the people who have full-time employment hate their job, hate their boss. So people will just eventually just say, if there's another alternative, I'll take it. That's why fractional will increase. Plus AI, look for 2026 to be, this is like a 5-day window before I give you the full, what I predict for 2026, but look for 2026 to be massive disruption in a whole bunch of areas that you wouldn't expect. Because of the economic forces applied to business owners and compliance and the utilization of AI, you're going to see a drastic disruption in all kinds of spaces. I mean, you've already seen it now. Hollywood's an empty ghost town. They're shooting pictures everywhere else. In fact, I saw a podcast recently. They said it would be cheaper to take an entire crew and all the equipment in airplanes and fly them to like Budapest and shoot there than it would be to shoot in, down the street in LA. So that, yes, economics, but oh crap, that's crazy, Anyway, that's where we are. That's what's happening. When you apply government compliance, you end up with responsive business, and that's what I think is going to happen. So thanks for the mic. Back to you.
Yeah, good stuff, Andy. Thank you for sharing, and yeah, good wins, especially on the the writing part. That's impressive, and getting that recognition, I know it means a lot. So, um, and yeah, on the business side, so yeah, like if you rewind the clock to my IT business, when I had an office in Carlsbad, I had contractors, I had employees, and I was always moving towards the contractor route because yeah, it's so costly to do business in California. This was even in the 2000s, right? Like 2004 to 2008, 2009. I mean, it's very expensive. That's why I made $1 million and only netted 50 grand in those 5 years because of office space, employees, insurance, software licensing, fill in the blank, right? So it was like, yeah, it's very difficult. And then once people understand right? Like once the shoe is on the other foot, like once people on the team recognize that how difficult and challenging and cost inefficient it is to run a business and be a business owner when you have all these expenses, they're like, oh wow, yeah, now I don't want to be a business owner, right? I don't want that responsibility. I don't want to have to pay insurance. I don't want to have to do payroll. I don't want to have to do fill in the blank, right? So once your eyes get open to knowing how a business really works and functions, then they're like really quick to stay an employee or a contractor, okay? Because they can't handle all the responsibilities and discipline that come with being a business owner, right? So it's not for everyone. But you have a sense of appreciation once the shoe is on the other foot of, wow, okay, now I see why it's so challenging, especially in California. I mean, Andy hit the nail on the head. There's no other state in the whole entire freaking country that's as bad for businesses as California. Okay, zero. It's the worst. Okay. So the point is, once you have an understanding, once you go from employee mindset to entrepreneur mindset, and you have an appreciation and an understanding of how business really works and functions, then you can decide, okay, what do you want to do? And the fractional trend that we're talking about today is there's something to be said that's powerful about having a fraction of your time. So when you have one company that you're a full-time employee for and you're giving them 40 to 60 hours a week if you're on salary, um, there's something to be said. Like they want to control your time. Okay, this is real talk right here. Okay, I'm just going to break it down for you. They want to control your time. They don't want part-time schedules. They want all your time. They want to consume you. And the second that you have the taste of doing your own thing as a consultant or, doing some freelance, whatever, once you experience that taste of like flexibility, you know, controlling of your time fully, that is like a drug. Let me tell you. When you have control over your time fully, that is like a drug because now you have the decision making power that you're in control. So now, and this is why I've been on a big trend of fractional CMO, fractional chief marketing officer. And the reason why, and it's finally starting to work for me, right? Because people understand my brand. It all starts with brand. They understand the Revenue Ronin brand. They're like, okay, well, I'm not getting Justin full time. I'd like him full time, but I'm not going to be able to pay his $250,000 a year salary for a CMO, right? And I lead with data. I was like, look, this is my value right here. This is what you're getting. So you're going to get a fraction of my time, 3 days a week at this rate, plus performance incentives. And when you have three or four clients like that, that's perfect. That's a ideal situation for me. So, and it's going to continue to trend this way of fractional leadership, right? Fractional leadership for companies. And here's another key differentiator. There's a lot of fractional executives, CFOs, CMOs, CTOs that you got to be strategic with your planning, but then you got to be able to execute too. Like what they don't want to see is they don't want to see just somebody, doing strategy and, sending over plans and then having someone else execute or manage that stuff. Like you got to roll up the sleeves sometimes and get in the trenches. That's what they want to see. And that's where I really differentiate myself is I'll get in the trenches. Right? I'll get on the tech calls. I'll manage the tech team, right? I'll tell them what's going on. So the more you can have a better understanding of and go deeper and be able to, lead from that vantage standpoint, the better. So, and I know we have a lot of experts in the room like Riley, and Christelle and Yvonne and Andy, of course, and Will and Antonio and everyone's an expert in your own realm, right? You're all experts in your own realm. And so, but there is going to be and continue to be a trend in fractional roles. And I'm part of like some CMO communities as well. And yeah, there's like a women's panel. There's like 30 women who are all fractional CMOs now, and they've, come from corporate and all this stuff, gotten laid off, fill in the blank, right? But they're all doing fractional CMO stuff and they're doing really well, um, because they have, 3 to 5 clients charging between 5 and 10K a month each. And, they're working 20 hours a week. That's like the dream. That's like the dream. As long as you're getting the results, that's what they care about. Okay, let me be very clear. They don't care if you work 20 hours a week or 2 hours a week on their account. They don't care. All they care about is, are you meeting the business objectives that we've aligned on? That's all they care about. If that takes you 2 hours a week, great. If it takes you 20 hours a week, perfect. It doesn't matter. What matters for,
Good customers, good customers.
yes. Well, yeah, as long as you're hitting whatever the outcome is, yeah, exactly. So that's all they care about. So, but yeah, good to have you here, Riley, as always. And yeah, thanks guys for being here. Happy Friday. We got a full room here, so good to see Christelle, Drac, Cindy, Antonio, Brandon, Liz Dodd. Good to see some familiar faces here. Hope you guys had a great Christmas. Feel free to come on up and contribute to the conversation. We're doing wins for the week and writing the fractional trend. The fractional is like, fractional CMO. It's, they get a fraction of your time, right? That's the whole thing. And yeah, because look, you have to have the mindset of, I'm giving someone an opportunity to do business with me, right? This is the angle I come at it now. Like, I'm giving you a fraction of my time because I'm a high professional and we all are high professionals. And once you put, so brand and positioning, this is the whole game. Once you have an established brand, and they'll do their research on you. I mean, you better believe they researched me before they hired me. You better believe it. But if you have a premium brand and you have a great positioning for your brand of what you do, who you are, what you offer, you will win. You will win. And this momentum is just going to keep moving into 2026. So, but it's taken us 2 years to get here. It's taken us 2 years to get here. Okay, I want to stress that point because, yeah, like, if I could go back, I would basically say, hey, look, it's going to take double the time that you think it is. So if you think it's going to take 6 months, it's most likely going to take a year. That's just the reality. So, but yeah, we have some elite operators on the stage here. So thank you so much. Let's go to Will, and then I'd love to hear from Yvonne and Riley. But yeah, Will, how's it going? Merry Christmas. Welcome to Friday. I know we have a big launch going on today.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Boxing Day. I'm not sure if you guys celebrate that in the US, but it's Boxing Day here in the UK. Yeah, just great to, again, we haven't really had, not really been a week off. We've been going every single day, but like feels like we're back to business as normal now. I wanted to jump in with this conversation, and I've never been a fractional worker, but one thing I do say to the guys in the community and everyone I coach is everyone is an entrepreneur, even if you only have one client, aka an employer, right? Everyone is self-employed, even if you don't realize it, because we're all selling. And I mean, this is going back to when I was in corporate. We're always selling the employer on us, whether you're going for a promotion or anything like that. And I used to manage a team of 10. So when Andy was talking about the compliance and all the taxes and the taxable benefits in kind and all that nonsense that goes on top, it's so much paperwork. And now that I'm self-employed, I'm a business owner, I don't have any employees. And I feel like it's going to go more in that direction. So just from my perspective, which is very limited in terms of the business world, I'll just give you guys a quick story. During the 2018, 2019 IT migration that I was part of at the bank I worked at, we had massive unexpected problems, and we had to get in a support staff. There wasn't 6 weeks to train them. So we basically outsourced and we paid this group of contractors to come in and fill in our gaps, essentially. And we were paying them about 2 times the salary of the average employed worker. Now, they would handle their own taxes, they would handle their own logistics, but it's just like Andy said, we could pay them more because there wasn't all of that red tape that goes on with an employment contract and the bandings and things like that. It was just, we have a problem, let's pay somebody to solve it. And that's the world we're moving into, which is, I believe, a very good thing because one of the big problems we had in corporate was there was just so much red tape to getting problems solved. Whereas in a world where people are coming into the company, particularly to solve one problem, it's just so much easier to apply the direct talent to the direct problem and get the solution and move on. So, just putting my old corporate hat on for a moment, that is much more of a world that I would like to live in, where we have so much more direct application of solution. Anyway, that's a bit of a sidetrack, but just from my own sort of experience, that is something that I love to see. And I'm thinking about it because I haven't really considered this for myself, but it's true. Even with what I do, which is these days enforcement of execution effectively, you're almost outsourcing your discipline to somebody else. So anyway, I'm getting a bit off track there, but it's something I'm thinking about in the moment because I believe we're going to see a lot more freelancing in the future. We're going to see a lot more, as we talked about, just enforced entrepreneurship. The 9 to 5 contract is dead. It's not a profitable business model anymore compared to the resources we have available. And yet, we still have an entire generation or two raised on that employee mindset. So there is a very real gap that we need to close. They're still teaching it now. It's not like you can go to Harvard or Oxford or Yale or Columbia or University of California and they say, oh, by the way, everybody's going to be an entrepreneur. Everyone's going to be a no. They're still teaching. Here's how you get a job. Yes, and we all see what's coming out of that. It's problematic to say the least. But I think that there is a very real opportunity for those who are willing to use it and take it to prepare themselves to live a better life on the back of it. And I think that is worth promoting to people. And just like Justin said, once you get that first taste of, oh, I can be in charge, it's really intoxicating. But I will say this, and this is kind of a counterpoint. I don't think everyone's ready for it. I think that a lot of people will take a look at the freedom and the responsibility that come with making their own decisions and being responsible for those outcomes. And they will seek safety in the known, and they will want other people to make those decisions for them. So it is up to us to lead the way by example. And like I say in every space, proof over promise is the way forward. So those are my initial thoughts. I have plenty of wins, but let's throw the mic around a little bit. Justin, back to you.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Will. And we'll go to Riley in a second and then Yvonne. But yeah, I want to comment on something you said. So yeah, the forced entrepreneurship thing, I've been a big, uh, you know, that's been a big point I've been making for the last few months just because I've seen the data, I've seen what's happening in my own personal network, people I've talked to personally. And but here's the thing, and you said like most people aren't ready for it, but here's the reality that I see happening. Okay, and this is a bit of a hot take, so just get ready. If you, and I've said it before, but let's take Christelle for example, okay? If she understands the urgency and the severity of like, hey, if Romeo's got to eat, like you better believe she's closing deals, right? If I have a daughter and I have to provide for my family, you better believe I'm going to be closing deals. Right now, not everyone's in that position, but you see the severity. What I'm trying to point out is you're going to be forced to. You don't like sales, you're going to learn sales. You're going to do whatever it takes. This is the Ronin way, right? You do whatever it takes, period. Ethically, of course, to meet the objective. That's the Ronin way. It's full stop. It's hard stop. Now, that can either be by your choice, right? Because there's people who have chosen to leave their job, like VB, right? He chose to leave his job. He didn't get laid off. He didn't. He chose to leave a job and do his own thing. Okay, there's distinction there. But when you're forced, right, you got no unemployment, you got no one else, you don't got mommy and daddy, you got nothing. You better believe you're gonna move mountains to make things work. Whether that's closing deals in sales or upping your game, your high income skills, delivering on the proposals that you sent. I mean, you better believe it. That's the reality. That's been my reality for these 2 years. So just it's not for everyone, but guess what? There's going to be people that are going to be forced to embrace sales, to embrace marketing, to embrace copywriting, to learn a new high income skill, learn AI. They'll be forced. So the point that we're making here is, look, you can either be forced into something that's painful, or you can choose now to embrace it and prepare. That's my whole motto, be prepared. I'm a former Eagle Scout, okay? You better believe, be prepared. That's part of my mantra. So, and it's serious. And unless you have your head in the sand, and the people on X, we're savvy, right? We're sharp, we're savvy, we're preparing. The battlefield's changing. We got to reread things. But there's a lot of people that are going to be flooded with forced entrepreneurship. And I even spoke on it at the panel I was on at the local community college. So, but you're in the right room. The good news is you're in the right room. You, you know, so yeah. Let's jump over to Yvonne, and then we'll go to Riley. And yeah, thanks for being here, guys. Please like and repost the space. We'd really appreciate it. We're gonna go till 8. And yeah, let's go over to you, Yvonne. Welcome. Hope you had a good Christmas.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Merry Christmas. Hope everybody had a wonderful holiday. Man, this space is fire today. Oh, my goodness. There are like so many things you guys touched on. I'm like in the background going, yes, yes. Because we've all had so many of these experiences. And I love what you were talking about, Andy, in regards to, being a person, basically a slave to the hours, so to speak, right? And there's that whole pivot of mindset. And it's so crazy how they are still teaching that in college. And it totally makes me think of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. My God, that book was so eye-opening. I relate to that so much. I know you do too, Justin, with what you were sharing about your dad. But, one of the things that I experienced, well, I mean, in the acting entertainment world, everything is kind of freelance, right? Like, yes, we have unions and stuff like that, but that's how I got so much of the professional entrepreneur and business, experience and expertise that I did, which now I consider a huge blessing because, to be perfectly fair and honest, if I had just, quote unquote, just been an actor, man, I would even just being an actor, I would have been putting basically all my eggs in someone else's basket and hoping that they're going to drive the bus, drive the ship. And that's one of the things that you learn on the path. And one of the things that I've learned, I mean, I remember working for some companies that I worked for, like, for example, Playboy. When I worked for the CEO of Playboy, and at the time that I was working for him, because again, I had to, and that's kind of like the nature of the beast when you're in entertainment, right? Like sometimes you have to take other jobs and other gigs and things like that while you're pursuing. But then you end up getting in a job, and especially if you're a worker bee and a type A, and you're like busting your butt for somebody else and helping to make them rich, but you're not doing it for yourself. And then also, you don't have the freedom and the flexibility to be able to audition and, really do what you're trying to do. Like you work all these other jobs to basically support yourself for the entertainment stuff that you're doing. And there's so many things that you have to learn in that. But I remember working for Playboy, and it was when we were taking the company from a publicly traded company to a private company. So I saw people that had worked there, you guys, for 20 something years, had been loyal employees and really great employees. But again, it kind of comes back to that decision that you guys were talking about before, right? Like you were putting the decision in someone else's hands. And I saw people that had worked there for 20 something years that were getting laid off because they were doing downsizing. There was this whole pivot in the corporate culture and the company and the restructuring that was going on. And I saw that, and it's just crazy. I couldn't believe like how committed some of those people were to the company, and then ended up being forced into early retirement, like things like that. I mean, thankfully some of them were prepared, but there were some people who weren't really prepared for that. And that's one of the other things that's amazing about being an entrepreneur. Yes, it can be a lot more work, for sure. But I love the education that comes with it. And then also just being able to empower yourself so you're not always relying on someone else to be able to hire you for stuff, and knowing your worth. And one of the things I wanted to touch on quickly too is in regards to, you were talking about when you're a consultant or you have clients and stuff like that. One of the things that I learned from Marcus Lemonis, I'm sure you guys know him, I absolutely love him, and it was his TV show The Prophet. I will never forget, there was this one episode that I watched. It's when I started one of my businesses, which was wood wall art, because I used my art to basically support me to pay for everything while I was doing my acting and my auditions and everything. And I had to learn, but I literally made like physical products of it instead of actual original paintings, because at one time I was looking into selling my original artwork as paintings. But that's a whole nother time kind of business that you get, right? Like if you sell something for $50,000 or $100,000 or something like that, who knows how long it's going to take before you actually have somebody buy that, right? So that's why it's so important to kind of really know what your endpoint is and what your goal is and your direction. That's what I love about Will's unshakable entrepreneurs, because of the identity, because knowing your identity and what you're really working for versus, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and knowing what the end goal is so freaking important, because then you can make sure that everything is building for that. And I remember like doing that kind of stuff, and then I saw one of his episodes where he was working with this person who was an artist, and she was making all these original pieces, and he basically restructured her business because it was a very successful business, but it was not to the level of success that it could have been, because she didn't know about scaling. And it completely changed the way that I did my particular business, because I made designs where I could basically repurpose those designs, but then each piece was still an original piece. But then there's a whole nother level to that. But I mean, again, even though like consulting work is great and stuff like that, my biggest thing that I love to share with people that I learned from that experience is, you want to be able to have products that are evergreen, right? At any in any possible way that you can, as much as you possibly can. This is why it's so important to have different revenue streams, like you always talk about, Justin, right? Like have your newsletter, do your personal brand, all these other kind of things. Because then if you're working for, you say you have like five really great clients, one of them is like your big client that's basically your moneymaker, and then something happens, which it can always, anything could happen, and then all of a sudden you lose that client, and now you're struggling. Now you're really hustling, and you're trying to figure things out because you were relying on that. And that's the thing. That's why it's so important to have multiple revenue streams. But it's also important, I think, to find ways where you can have products or things that are not only evergreen, but then where you can also scale them to have a larger profit margin to some form or fashion. And this is why, like, I built my platform that I'm building now, because it is very, very scalable, and it doesn't require a lot of capital for me to actually produce like a physical product. There's just so many levels to all this stuff, you guys, but there's also so many possibilities of where things can go. And with AI at our fingertips now, I mean, the sky is the freaking limit. But that's why these kind of spaces, with all of us doing different types of businesses and different types of things and different end goals, is so important, because someone who's new, who doesn't necessarily know that, can really kind of figure out their lane, where they fit, where they want to go, and how they want to build their particular type of business that they want to do, and then also how to pivot when that time comes.
Well, thank you, Yvonne. Yeah, I want to hit on a couple of good points you made. So the larger the ticket price, the longer the timeline, right? That's a big one. So most people don't understand or grasp this, but I want to. This is a big point that really spoke to me when you shared. So yeah, like I've worked in environments where a piece of equipment cost $1 million. So what's the average life cycle of a sales cycle for that type of product? It can be years. Okay, it can be years before you close a deal. So to your point, like when it comes to us and what we're doing, and we're not huge companies, right? So you got to understand that those high ticket clients, they're far and in between to come by. Because look, you can only maintain a high quality with like, 3 to 4 clients max, unless you have like a large team and you have leaders that you've delegated and then managers that are managing projects, right? But from my vantage standpoint is you got to make sure, and I've emphasized this point again, it's really important. Kevin loves it. It's much more costly to acquire a new customer than it is to retain an existing customer. Okay, let me repeat that. It's much more costly to acquire a new customer than it is to retain an existing client. So if you already have existing clients, that's why there's three ways you can avoid these spaces. You're excused from these spaces for one of three ways. Number one, family emergency. Number two, you're doing client fulfillment work. Or number three, you're closing a deal. Okay? You can miss this space for those three reasons. Outside of that, I'd encourage you not to miss. Why? Because you're going to pick up on something that's MBA level, you're going to put into practice and you're going to bring in a lot more revenue. Okay? I guarantee it. Just go past the whole year. You can look at plenty of case studies. So to Yvonne's point, if you do have high ticket products or high ticket clients or fill in the blank, those take a bit longer to acquire. But make sure you prioritize those because you cannot lose those. And things happen, right? Companies get sold. Prime example, in when I was running my agency long before I got back into corporate, after I pivoted from IT, I took my top IT clients and they became my first marketing agency clients. That's how I got into running my marketing agency in 2009. But so I had four clients. I was making 25K a month with a small team of five of us. And then I lost three clients, my high ticket clients. One company got sold. Another, the lady that was my point of contact, she left. And then the other company, like they decided to build their marketing team in-house. So I lost three clients just like that within a few months. So the point is, you never know what can happen, to Yvonne's point, and just make sure you understand that if you have a high ticket product or high ticket client, it can take a lot longer to acquire those. But just make sure you plan accordingly. And there's the average. So here are the metrics you want to monitor. The average life cycle. The average life cycle of from a prospect to closed deal, you want to monitor that. You want to monitor that because it can take the average life cycle for some of these high ticket products. It can be years. So, great points there, Yvonne. Right sizing is another thing. So companies, they call it downsizing, they call it right sizing, whatever. It's just a buzzword, right? Evergreen products, absolutely. Anything you can do evergreen, like having your book, having your course, of course, having your email list, and then start with one revenue stream first and then diversify, right? The average millionaire has seven streams of income. That's great. We love that. We want to get there. But what do you do first? Well, you establish one single revenue stream first. And then once you have that, let's take Kevin, for example. He's a ghostwriter. He's got one single revenue stream from that. Okay, great. Then he gets into consulting. Now he's got another revenue stream. Then he gets into his newsletter. That's another revenue stream. So Kevin's got like five revenue streams now, right? He didn't start with all five. He started with one and then he built on top of that. That's how it works. That's the way this game works. So thank you, Yvonne. Great points. Loved them. Let's go over to Riley and then we'll go to Drac. Okay, Riley, how's it going, man? Welcome. Hope you had a good Christmas.
How's it going, guys? Can you hear me well?
Yeah, you're good, man.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I'll eventually make it short. And for everyone who's listening to us right now in this space, follow all the speakers. That's super important. Give it a like. Justin is too humble to say it, so I'm going to say it for him. Follow Justin to not miss this kind of event. If any of you has a specific question, write it down in the comments now so that within the next 1 or 2 minutes, I'll try my best to answer it live so you get full value of the stuff. So don't hesitate to drop me your question. I'd rather answer your question than giving you like some random generic insights. During that minute, I'm going to sort of give you a little bit of that elevator music so you have time to write your question. Two things I want to say, and if there are no questions, I'll actually pass it back to Will. So Will, be ready because you said something very cool today. I want to rebound to that. One thing I love, a quote from Naval Ravikant that sort of planted the seed in my mind is he said one day, if you learn how to build, if you learn how to sell, and if you do both, you're unstoppable. And I wish I had this advice when I left university with a master's degree in computer science, because we were good at building, we were not good at selling, and we were nothing close to unstoppable. So if you're good at something, whether it's a service or building something tangible or intangible, couple it with sales and marketing skills, and in 2026 you'll be unstoppable. And I want to say you have zero excuse, because if you're good at building or delivering a service and you don't know how to sell, there is something called the revenue roll in, and you are in one of those lives right now. So you have access to that selling course with Justin every single day of the week. This is your free product placement, Justin. This Christmas gift, a little bit late for you, my brother. The second thing is, and I want to rebound to everything that you said earlier, Justin, and I'm going to tap onto what you said a little bit, Andy, which is there is no university or school that will teach you business. It will teach you business administration, but it will not teach you business. This is not something you can learn just watching videos. This is something that you have to go in the trenches and build the muscle memory. That's the only way to do it, unfortunately and fortunately. So if you guys are here today listening to this, you're already ahead of all those ones trying, still thinking about it. Go in the trenches and build that muscle memory, build that thick skin, so you can practice business, because nobody is going to teach you business. Let me check. And let me check if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'll pass it to Will. Will, let me know if you're not comfortable with that. But we don't have any questions. So my biggest insight for you is something Will Carter said this morning, and I think is super, so important to everything that we're saying today, right now in this space. And it's the idea of vision. Will, this morning or last night, you tweeted something I loved. You said, everything starts with a compelling vision, essentially a North Star. And so I want to give my remaining speaking power to you, Will, so if you can elaborate on this tweet that people didn't see. Mike, to you.
Yeah, no worries, Ronnie. First of all, before we do that, I wanted to say I love your post earlier on about donating to the village. Off topic, but just wanted to give you props for that, because really, really great to see. Okay, cool. Vision. So I have a protocol I teach my clients called CADE, right? CADE. You guys have heard me talk about it before. And it goes like this: clear goals, aligned mind, daily execution. Because you can't do daily execution if you don't have an aligned mind. And you can't have an aligned mind if you don't have a clear goal or destination. So vision is where everything starts. And Andy said something really good the other day about leadership, that leaders were about vision. And there was another one as well, Andy. I think it was a negotiation or something like that. And that managers were for logistics. So the leader holds the vision, the GPS location. And then the daily habits are what get you there. That's the execution. So the tweet I put out was just a quick reflection on this, because I'd been watching a video, and the person was talking about, well, how do you plan to make the most out of next year? And they said, well, I know exactly where I'm going. The guy asked him, well, how are you going to get there? It's like, these are my habits. I don't know every twist and turn in the road, but I know this is my location, and this is how I'm going to try and get there. Now, of course, we don't have all the answers when we set off on the path, but if you have a clear vision and daily non-negotiables, you are going to make incremental progress. So it isn't a question of if you make it there anymore. It's a question of which road are you going to take and how long is it going to take you? And as you gain more knowledge and information, you can make better decisions on those. But I look back to the Bible, right? Proverbs, it says, where there is no vision, the people perish. And this is the average person's life experience. They don't have a vision of where they're going. They don't know what they're doing. So any road will take them there. And bringing it back to this conversation, to the employee who doesn't have a compelling vision for their life, they'll put that in somebody else's hands and say, hey, I don't want the responsibility of deciding my own path. I'm going to trust you to guide me on the path. So I encourage everyone, especially going into next year. I mean, there's no bad time to do this, but now what better time than right now going into next year, to pick a compelling vision for where you want to be this time next year, and then set daily non-negotiables. I call them MVAs, minimum viable actions, that you will take every single day to get you there. You don't need to know the whole path, right? You don't need to, because a lot of people will freeze because they can't say, well, what if I hit this and this happens? You don't need to worry about that. Don't worry about step 10 while you're still on step 1. Your non-negotiables will get you there if you keep pivoting in response to the world and the path you're traveling. But it all begins with a vision. Without that, you don't have a journey in front of you. You've got random encounters. So hopefully, Riley, that answers your question, mate.
Oh, I love it. I really wanted you to elaborate because that tweet was just gold, and I wanted to make sure that everyone is exposed to it. So thank you so much. Back to you, Justin. And yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Riley. And yeah, thank you, Will. Yeah, go for it.
When you pick some vision of your life in the future, it doesn't matter if it's the end of the day, next week, next month, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. When you pick a vision of the future, imagine yourself. This is the most powerful tool that I've used my whole life. Okay, so here's the tool. You pick what you want it to look like, and then you spend your time imagining every possible detail of that life. What kind of car? What kind of house? What color is it? What is the interior? What does it smell like? What clothes do you wear? What shoes do you have? What socks do you wear? Where are they? Are they in a drawer? Are they in a cabinet? Do you have a new chest of drawers? Do you have a new Davenport? Do you have a new whatever? Do you have, is it in a closet? Is it a separate room? Is it a walk-in? Imagine every single detail. The more vividly you can imagine the answer, getting the path from where you are to that answer will happen almost magically by itself if you can magically, specifically, pick the right answer. It is the most powerful thing in the world. I told the story about swimming. Let me give you the answer. I only pictured myself standing on the podium, hearing the national anthem. That was it. Okay? The only time they play that is at the World Championships or at the Olympics. Your national anthem when you win. That's it. The only time it ever happens. You don't need the rest of the story. Standing there in the suit, right? In the sweatsuit, USA. That's it. That was the only vision I had. One vision. One vision. And the task I had to do every day was every stroke of every lap. That was my entire mindset. Everything was just that vision and that task. That vision, that task. And when it hurt and I cramped up or I was like, I don't want it, it was like, what are you going to hear? What does it sound like? Does it echo in the big giant auditorium that they swim the Olympics in? Does it echo? Or does it just, is it close? Is it a little tiny room? Are there cameras on you? Picture it. Imagine it. Am I sweating? Am I crying? What? The more you can make it the shot in the movie that you're in, that you can look back and see the cameras and the director and everything, is see the whole thing. The more detail, the more it sinks into your mind, it gets burned into your soul. And then it becomes undeniable. Undeniable. And I've used this to get new phones I couldn't afford, to buy new cars that I currently drive and have and own, couldn't afford, trips I couldn't afford, closets full of suits that I never imagined I could have, shoes that I used to walk by the store and think, I wish I could afford those shoes, and I have a rack of them. A box of watches. Picture it, imagine it, and then make the details, every detail, every single, the more you can find. I know I'm going down it, and I'm saying it again and again and again. I do that on purpose so that you get it. If you have ears to hear, listen. Do this one exercise. You want to change your life between now and the end of the year and to set yourself up for the future? Spend your moments picturing the future and then cement it, hold it, and then picture it every single day, every moment, every time you stress, every time you make a decision. What does it look like? Does it move me towards that goal or not? That's it. Pick it so it's so obvious, it's undeniable.
Yeah, good stuff, Andy. Yeah, I mean, the I hope you understand the seriousness of what Andy's saying here, guys. And the mindset part is big because just that simple thing of vision and task, and you focus on that, and then you just don't stop. Okay, you do not stop. And that's it, right? And why, you know,
And you got to pick something. You got to pick something that is worthy of your goal, worthy of your effort, worthy of your life, worthy of your time, worthy of the sacrifices. Pick something big, hairy, audacious. Don't pick, I'm going to lose 2 pounds. No, pick, I'm going to look like Schwarzenegger, or I'm going to look like, Daniel Craig, or I'm going to dress like blah, 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 or whatever. Pick something audacious, something that is so amazing that your family and friends will look at you and think, what the hell have you been doing? That's how you know you're on the right track.
yeah, just like, and then and then your wife, like Andy's wife, will say, "Man, that's your writing. That's pretty impressive." You know, like I'm telling you guys, th these little things fuel us, right? Like, where's your fuel? Find your fuel. And yeah, go ahead, Riley, and then I'll comment on a couple points. Go for it, man.
I love it. Yeah, I just want to add one word to the debate, and I know, Justin, you're going to love it because, Andy, what you described is brilliant. 100% agree with it. And there's a Japanese word to describe that one vision, one goal, 1 year. The Japanese people call this misogi. Misogi. Misogi, the misogi challenge. Yeah, I knew you'd love it, Justin. So it's that every single year you select a challenge, but a hard one, something that is deep, that is hard, and that is going to transform you throughout the year. The Misogi challenge. So have a look at that, and I'm not going to hold the conversation more. Back to you, Justin.
Yeah, no, thank you, Riley. That was a good one. Yeah, I'm gonna look that up. I'm looking it up right now. Misogi Challenge, a modern take on ancient Japanese purification ritual, reframed as an annual, year-defining personal feat, often involving something so difficult like an ultra marathon or a silent retreat or quitting a habit that it pushes your limits, strips away comfort, and reshapes your perspective for the year ahead, fostering growth, willpower, and self-discovery with roughly a 50-50 chance of success. Wow, that is powerful, Riley. That is totally relevant to jump in and interrupt on because
Yes.
that is worth it.
Or one group with one solution.
Yeah, and guys, if you want the ultimate, if you want an ultimate, I've done a lot of personal development, workshops, over 100, okay? I've invested over $150,000. The point is, if you want the ultimate test of personal development, start a business. Nothing will test you more than starting a business, okay? If you really want to go down the path and you want to be serious about it, right? Start a business. That is the ultimate journey of self-discovery and personal growth and personal development that you can do, right? You can take all the workshops in the world, but until you pull the action and go register that company, right? Until you formalize that business plan, until you take friends and family's money, like I have, you are not serious. You are not committed. So sell yourself and your vision right? Because Riley hit on it. You got to sell yourself and you have to sell your vision. And those builders that can do both, that's where you really sustain. So if you can build now, there's no excuses. Everyone should be a builder or at least have a good understanding of what building is about, thanks to AI now. But you got to be able to sell yourself first before you can sell your products and services. And this is how I closed 400 clients in my IT business. Well, I sold myself, right? I sold Justin, right? So you have to be able to sell yourself. And then once you do that, you gain trust, then you can sell your products and services. Uh, as far as teachers that are teaching entrepreneurship, true story, local colleges had to bring in outside teachers to teach the class that actually ran businesses. That's what they want, right? They don't want people to teach theory in entrepreneurship. They want people who've actually done the thing, who've ran a business. That's what the institutions do now is they pull in contract teachers that actually run companies. Why? Because you're going to get the theory, but you're also going to get the application. So, and practice business, right? Practice the craft. It's the ultimate personal development journey. And yeah. Oh, and then trust you to guide you. Yeah, one quote I want to share with you is progress over perfection. This is one of my favorite quotes. I've had it printed on a shirt because I loved it that much. But yeah, it's all about progress over perfection. That's the mantra. So, okay, let's go back over to Riley, and then I want to go to Drac, and then uh iLabs, who's a COO, and then we'll start getting ready for final word, which we'll do Will, Yvonne, Kevin. It looks like Andy had to drop, so but yeah, we'll start wrapping it up here, guys. What a great conversation. Okay, Riley, over to you.
I would say set your vision because that's the destination in your life's GPS, and then act on it, measure the feedback, and build yourself a community. Don't try to go alone. It's too hard. Back to you, Will.
I think it was Drax up next.
Hey, everybody. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Justin, thanks for having me up. Kevin, Riley, Yvonne, Will, it's really great to hear you guys speaking. This topic in this room always seems to hit home for me. That's why I keep coming back. You guys are always striking on the conversations that are tickling at my brain every day. I won't go into the long pedigree or anything, but just to give some context to my question that I have, a lot of what you guys are talking about, I've experienced and lived for 25 years as an entrepreneur. The struggles, the success, the failure, all of these things that are part of the lifestyle. I've been at the bottom and I've been at the top. And along the way, I've done some really great work. You know, just a snapshot of my pedigree is, you know, worked at Apple Computers. I've worked in surveillance and reconnaissance and defense and aerospace. I've worked with Bell Labs. I've had award-winning products that I've built for people all over the world. And this is going to lead me to my question. So I've had this really eclectic career working on really great products. I've had an absolute fortune handed to me, fortunate situations, and have always made the best of them. I'm a bit relentless, I guess is the way to say it. I find myself now working with thought leaders in particular sectors and industries that you all would know. I'm not going to name drop, but these are people that have changed the technological world as you know it today. Some of their products having 40% of the internet running through it at one point. These are not small people, and they're thought leaders, they're builders, they're innovators. They're people that I look up to, much like the people in this room, for your thoughts on these subjects. Having been in the world of build or hired to build has been great. But as you guys are talking about, the industries are changing. The world is changing. And I do find myself contemplating more about my experiences building up to where I am today, but then the necessity to pivot to a fractional CTO role, let's say, because of the changes due to AI and just industry in general. And I guess my question is, more how does somebody from the traditional full-time contract engineering background, how do I successfully reposition myself into a fractional CTO role, shifting from being hired to build to being hired to think? And I have a really great community that I work with daily, to your guys' points about, the daily efforts, the MVAs will. I hold myself accountable every day. I do spaces, public speaking every day. I do my routines of sales calls every day. I write my articles. I do my socials. I'm a very regimented person. I'm a pilot as well, so I think that's probably where it comes from. I have a very routine structure to everything that I do. It's kind of how I've learned. Anyway, I guess for me, I'm having difficulty. And Will, you and I have had a great chat there not long ago, which really helped unstick some things. So I'm kind of hoping to get unstuck, as it were, here as well. I'm trying to shift from the hired gun who builds award-winning products to the fractional CTO where I'm hired to think. As I grow older, as I position myself around certain industries, blockchain, AI, lots of SaaS products, the transition to hired to think seems to be eluding me a little bit, even though my pedigree would probably say otherwise. I also understand that the past 3 years, I've put a lot of effort into certain blockchain efforts, not the scammy stuff. I'm not talking Ethereum. I'm not going to get into it, but working with these individuals who, they work with the White House, they are legal counsel for Reddit, big names. And this is great. And I do a lot of thought leader type stuff every day. I know my position. I know where I sit. I know where my skill set stands amongst, say, the community or the ecosystem. But I also understand that blockchain sometimes has a negative connotation to it, although that's not the fields that I work in. I'm a developer, not a trader or investor. And so sometimes I wonder if that's a bit of a hindrance. But to my point, or to my question, is transitioning from these traditional roles into these fractional, as I hear you guys talking about, is something that I truly believe in my heart and feel in my gut, and also know on the logical sense is very much within my grasp. But making that transition has been more difficult than I thought, than I guess I anticipated, given the daily routines and the MVAs and everything that I am doing. And part of me wonders if blockchain, say on my resume or my portfolio, is hindering me a little bit that way because of the negative connotations with it. Although I kind of choose, I guess, consciously to ignore that a little bit because I know where my efforts in that are going. So I guess maybe some advice or some insight, because I don't want to lose credibility with founders in trying to shift from builder to, hired to think. Any thoughts on that? Justin, I see your hand up. Yeah, I'd love some insight if you could.
Yeah, I'll be brief, because we're kind of wrapping up the space, but I got some highlights for you. So, and then, Will can jump in as well on top. And so yeah, appreciate, Jack, first off, you coming here and sharing, and it's yeah, good to hear from you again. And yeah, I think first off, you're taking the actions, right? Like you've been very clear about that. Here's what I'm doing. I'm in community. I'm creating my content. I'm building my thought leadership. I think the positioning part, and I even had to hire a positioning coach 2 years ago to help me really see the vision and reposition myself from just another marketing guy to the marketing profit mentor to now the revenue Ronin. So my positioning has gone, threefold transition. So that's those are the first couple things. And then as far as LinkedIn, I would really, spruce up your LinkedIn, get it up to date, maybe drop the Web3 stuff and just focus more on the fractional CTO part and see what type of traction you can get there. But look at your internal network and the relationships you already have. This is where the opportunities most likely will come from first, is as you start having conversations with other executives, other projects that you've been involved with, and just letting them know, hey, I'm actually, and make sure you have your business already set up. That's a no-brainer, right? You got to already have an established business. You have to register your LLC, whatever you got to do, but have the company name, have the positioning, have the brand. You already have the chops, you already have the expertise and the experience, and just really highlighting your, track record and having the right conversations with those people who are like, yeah, I'll take you on for fractional CTO leadership, right? So just, you're already doing the great things, just, refine it a bit, but yeah,
Yeah, I found LinkedIn to be, I just get hammered with spam. I do have the company. I have the C Corp, the US C Corp. I've had other businesses that I've sold. I've been down those roads many times. If you had a referral, Justin, for that positioning expert, I do think that's something that I'm missing. And I think I'm positioning myself incorrectly. I'm not a marketing professional, although I've done lots of it in my life. I think that the world has changed and a bit of an old dog in some ways. And so if you had a referral, I would really appreciate that, because I do think that's something that would help me as somebody with the outside perspectives to help me kind of position myself better.
Yeah, I'll actually put it in the purple pill for everyone, because I think, Steve Brossman is his name. He's from Australia, and yeah, I hired him as my positioning coach, and 2 years ago, and he really helped me get unstuck. And because yeah, part of the thing with us professionals is, we're so ingrained in our own craft that when we have to think outside the box for our own brand and our own stuff, there's a challenge there. There's a mindset block. And so it took some iterations, but he was the one that really kind of led me down that path. So I'll put that for everyone in the purple pill. But yeah, thanks Drac for coming up here. Show up, we do these Monday through Friday, 6:45 a.m. Pacific. Keep showing up. I see you showing up, which is great. And yeah, look into Steve, maybe he can help you. And he's the positioning coach I hired. But yeah, I think you're well on your way. You're already doing the right things. It's just, over the course of the next few months, focus on having those key conversations with key stakeholders, letting them know, hey, this is what I'm up to. Do you have any opportunities? And you'll know in like 90 days you'll have some lined up clients. All right.
All right, I'll do that. I'll keep sticking with it and showing up. I appreciate you guys having me up.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks for being here, Jack. Really appreciate it. So yeah, let's go over to uh Abasi real quick. And then we got to wrap up, and we're gonna do final word with Will and Yvonne, and then I'm gonna wrap us up, guys. Okay? All right, thanks. I got a lot of work today. So all right, Abasi, over to you.
Hello, good evening. From this part of the world. Demo. It's fine if you can pronounce my name. I'm Nigerian, and on the start of here, I'm Chief Operations Officer. I was scrolling through my X, and then I saw this space. And yes, this is what I want to do full time. Yeah, I really love entrepreneurship and growing around people who understand entrepreneurship beyond the word entrepreneurship. People who really go deep into it. It's amazing to be in your space today, and this is the first time I'm hearing about it. Fractional trend is not very common in this part of the world, because everybody wants to hire someone who stays with them for the next 5 years, 10 years, and all of that. But it's cool to have stuff like this. You can hire a professional. But I was going through it, and I'm like, not everybody understands what you want in your company. Yeah, not everybody understands your dreams and your visions. And so you're hiring someone part-time for some time of the week, and that Is it really healthy for a startup company, or which of them is it healthy for a startup company? Is it healthy for a company that's already gaining traction? In short, probably say the company has been in existence for 5, 10, 15 years or thereabout. So that's my main problem. Is it cool for startups, like baby startups you're trying to build? Should you get someone who's going to build long term, or yes, long term and fully committed, like full-time roles, or should you hire fractional workers? And number two, what's scalability like? So my company we have 3 arms. We do EduTech, where we train young Africans um, to be able to learn some good digital skills, and then transition from the manual labor, which Africans are still very used to. I'm sorry I'm saying these things about Africa, but yes, if we have to switch, I think the truth has to be told. So how we have the edutech part of it, we have SaaS and all of that, and then we have the part that does just AI. So we develop models, we do a lot of machine learning and all of that. How do you scale this kind of companies in this ecosystem? How do you get to grow? Because okay, like for the last 2 years, most companies that come out are fintech companies who just want to go into the Web3 space, into blockchain. Then you can change, you can exchange your cash for cryptocurrency and all of that. I really want to do beyond that. I'm going into health, I'm going to accounting, I'm going to engineering, right? And all of that. How do you scale these kind of companies in the African ecosystem? Are they laid down principles? I know business, I know owning something is going to teach you a whole lot. But you guys have experience and you're big. Yes.
Yeah.
How do you walk through this path, please?
Yeah, great questions, Abasi. Thank you for the questions. So yeah, I'll be brief here. So number one is education, right? Because look, every single conversation you're having with a prospective customer and or client, you have to educate them. That's number one. Everything comes down to education. It's a very consultative sale. There's two different types of sales, right? There's sales that are consultative, which they require a lot of education before people say yes. That's number one. Number two, a product-based sale, that's completely different. Hey, you want to buy this thing? Great, here it is. So your sales approach, you need to make sure you're educating and you're closing deals accordingly. But it doesn't matter what Nigeria, Japan, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. The business is done the same way. You just have to adapt to different cultures, right? They all have their cultural norms. So you have to make sure you're playing to that cultural norms for that particular industry. Okay, this is critical. I took classes on this. And if you do business in other countries, you have to be adaptive with your business practices for different cultural norms. Very critical. The last thing I'll say is there's a fundamentals of every single company: acquiring customers and retaining customers. Don't ever forget this, okay? Write it down. You acquire customers and you retain customers. That's the name of the game. So what you're doing with your minimum viable actions, with your weekly practices, your newsletter, your fill in the blank. Are you acquiring customers and are you retaining customers? Yes or no? And if you're able to do those two things, you will have a sustainable, growing business. I don't care if you're in Japan or Mexico or the US, as long as you're acquiring customers and you're retaining customers. That's the name of the game. So again, education, consultative selling, product-based selling, cultural norms for each country, business practices, and acquiring customers and retaining customers. That's it. MBA here. Okay, so we're going to do final word here, guys, and appreciate everyone being here. Hopefully, you guys have gotten some value here today. We're all about delivering massive value to the point where, you know what, Justin, I want to sign up and become a Ronin. Why? Because we've been giving value here every single day for a whole year, and we're going to continue doing it next year. Why? Because the mission and the vision is very clear. Let me just reiterate it for you, just in case. Okay. The mission and the vision for the Startup Circle and the Revenue Ronin community, they're very similar, is to empower 1,000 Ronins to achieve personal and professional success. Focus on sales and marketing mastery. You can read it there in the purple pill. Why sales and marketing, Justin? That's a great question. Sales and marketing are the ultimate business drivers of any company. You can have a great product, you can have a great accounting department, you can have great tech. Guess what? If you don't have sales and marketing, you have zero business. You have zero business. This is why I'm committed to educating the population on sales and marketing mastery because I've been doing it for over 25 years. I've lived it. And so I'm here to share with you guys. So that's the mission of the Revenue Ronin community in the Startup Circle. Empower 1,000 fellow Ronins, which essentially is an entrepreneur, to achieve personal and professional success based on sales and marketing mastery. Now, the vision, the way of the Revenue Ronin is mastery in motion. Mastery in motion. And the values were all about discipline, data, and results. That's the vision. And what do you get when you join? Community, feedback, access, accountability, and a high standard. That's what you get. So very clear. This is the Revenue Running community. This is the Startup Circle community. We're focused on this. We've got over 35 members that have joined. We'd love for you to be number 36. Prices are going up, okay, in January. Why? Because it's called supply and demand with my time. Okay, I have clients, I have a community, I have a family, I'm getting pulled in a lot of different directions. So the prices are going up based on supply and demand. It's basic economics. So join in and lock in these low rates now. And also, if you want a special, which me and Will are putting together, we've already put it together actually. So I'm going to pass it over to Will to talk more about that special. Okay, Will, over to you.
Cheers, Justin. 2 seconds, just leading another call. Just a minute.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. Okay, go for it. Go for it.
So yes, absolutely. Your vision and my vision, very, very similar. So I'm sure you guys already know about this. I'm seeing some of our unshakable Ronins in the room already. But Justin's mission is to educate on sales and marketing because those are the business drivers. My mission is behavioral drivers, returning internal authority to you so that you are consistent and no longer reliant on your emotions. Because consistency is the one thing that will separate those that win from those that do not. And it's the number one reason that businesses fail. And when we look at what actually causes this, it's a lack of internal authority. We talked earlier on about people giving away their power to employers. And yet, even those that walk the self-employed path give their power away to circumstances, to emotions, and it causes them to be inconsistent. And at the level of entrepreneur that I work with, an hour of inconsistency can cost $1,000 or more. When you look at growth stage entrepreneurs between 5K and 20K a month, they're in motion, they have business, they're not yet at scale. So the constraint is the mindset of the operator. And what we find is that in 2025, going into 2026, no business is going to fail because of a lack of information. The information is out there. You can find it. Everyone knows what to do. Today, everyone has access to strategies and frameworks and playbooks and $100 million offers. So the only real constraint is execution, who actually acts on it and who doesn't. And it's a bit more specific even than that. The real constraint that I've spent the last year really nailing and dialing in on is execution instability. That is why some businesses collapse, because the operator becomes inconsistent. And this is what we're looking to solve going into 2026. So this is something that we have put together. And again, I just want to call out a couple of people. So we got Brandon in the room. We've got Mr. Diallo in the room. We've had Trishad as well come through and not miss one day of execution, even through the Christmas period. So I want to give a huge shout out to those members. We've got Trish in the room as well, who's another completely unshakable entrepreneur. So if you are interested in joining us for 2026, this is not going to be a pitch, because this is, you'll know if you need this. If you want to lock in consistency and become unshakable so that you do not miss a day of execution in 2026, this is the offer for you. Send Justin or myself a DM and we'll give you the information. But this will do one thing and one thing only. It will hold you to an external standard so that the only variable that you have left is your behavior. Did you show up or did you not? So with that, Justin, back to you. I have to dip out. I've got another call. Drac, I'm going to send you a follow-up because I want to add some things to what Justin said, but I do have to run. But have an amazing day, everyone. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Thank you, Will.
Yeah, cheers, Will. Thanks, man. Have a great day over there, a great evening. And yeah, guys, this is for serious entrepreneurs only, okay? And you got to become obsessed with your own success, right? You got to become obsessed with your own success. No one else is going to do it for you. And if you're looking to get the inner game and the outer game, there's no better people on this platform than myself and Will to help you through it. And just ask, the hundreds of other people we've been engaging with on this platform for, 2 years. That should be enough guidance for you. If you need other social proof, other testimonial videos, let me know. But the point is, we want you to win, right? This is not about me. This is about we. Okay, this is about we, and this is about winning in your own life. That's what this is about. That's what this mission is on. That's what we're on here. And so, yeah, shoot myself or Will a message if that's of interest to you. Lock in for Q1 with this offer. And yeah, that's all I got. So I want to do final word here with Riley as well. And shout out to Antonio and Brandon and Umesh. And Trish was here as well. Thanks, guys, for being here. 2026, guys, it's going to be a great year. We're just going to continue the momentum we already got. And we're going to be doing daily spaces again next year, if you didn't know, Monday through Friday, 6:45 a.m. Pacific. Yeah, we're doing another year. We just finished a year. We're about to finish a year. We're doing another year. So stick with us, right? I want you to get massive value. I want you to come back in 3 months from now and say, wow, since joining the Ronin community and Will's community, my business is flourishing. I'm locked in. I got great momentum. My bank account is getting fuller. I'm changing people's lives. I have more clients. I'm selling more products. Fill in the blank. That's what I want for you. That's what I want for you. And that's what you're going to get if you commit and invest in yourself. So, all right, final word over to Riley, and then I will sign us off. Thanks, guys. Riley, are you available for final word, man? Okay, he's on mute, so no worries, guys. Well, listen, it's been a great one. I'm gonna sign us off now. I've recorded this space on my Zoom, so I have the transcript. So Antonio is gonna be very proud of me. And yeah, like starting next Monday, I will be at the gym again. It's been a while since I've worked out because I was very ill for this last month, but I was still working and trying to recover. So I'm gonna be back in the gym on Monday, which Monday is actually my birthday. I'll be 45 years old, so I'll have my 45 lessons prepared for everyone. I do this every year. Last year was 44 lessons of, personal, professional, business life. I will have 45 now, will be updated for you guys. So get ready. These are my hottest, most valuable tips I can share in 45 years of life. I want to give that to you because these are hard-hitting lessons, things that we need to be reminded of, and we all have our own journeys, right? And you don't know it until you live it, right? You don't know it till you live it, guys. So live with us here in the startup circle, in the revenue running community, and dedicate yourself towards mastery. And yeah, just remember, at the end of our lives, we'll ask ourselves four simple questions. Did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? And did I make a difference? Until next time, keep making a difference. Build that mind, build that body, build that business, build that bank account, but most importantly, build that legacy. So stay hungry, Stay humble and stay healthy. We'll see you at the top. Make it a productive, but most importantly, profitable day. Join the revenue running community now. Again, prices going up 2026. Lock in now. If you want Will and Maya's offer, DM us. We'll put you on the list. We'll get you the information and you can lock in for the first quarter of 2026. And just like Antonio and Brandon. And and yeah. All right, much love, guys. Make it a great day, and we'll be back on Monday. All right, much love.